and so I've just printed out my jungle fern from the Crafty So-and-so's web Facebook page under files. Jungle Fern is the A3, and then there is another file up there called Jungle Fern A4, which is a smaller one which you need to join together. Alright, but so I've just printed this out, and I wanted to say to you, right, so what I did, as I have written in the words in down the bottom, that I suggest you cut 1.5 inch strips of the light green. We're only using light green and black on this. Now the 1.5 strip is going to work for that long strip, and it's going to work for the majority of the strips going, well, we're actually starting over here, so it's going to work for the majority of the strips going up, but the last two of the light green, this may not be wide enough. So I've also asked you to cut one lot of a 2 inch. That will definitely cover the fat ones on both sides, okay? The thinner ones can be covered by the 1.5 inch strips. But then I've asked you to cut overall in black 2.5 inch strips, okay? As you can see, I've already done one on here. And these 2.5 inch strips will cover you all the way up on both sides of the block, but they won't cover you on the outside black. There you're going to have to look at it, measure it, and say, well, how the widest part is here. You need to give yourself 1/2 inch either side and a little bit of, I would say 3/4 of an inch, so that you've got a little bit of leeway. So 3/4 of an inch bigger than whatever that measures. And if you do it actually an inch bigger, you'll probably find that what you can get out of that strip, you can get that strip out of as well. But have a look at it and work that out for yourself. That's a good exercise for you to work out. So now we're going to start. This is a two-piece problem, a two-piece pattern. So the very first thing that you need to do is to separate the two patterns, as we do. So first off, let's just cut, as I always do, is cut the pattern down to a more manageable size to work with. I keep my little strips, so that gives me a picture of what I'm. This is why I add it, because it gives you, it gives you your goal at the end of the day. We're trying to make that, yeah. So that just helps. So I'll cut off excess, remembering to keep your faint outside line, because that is very, very important to square off the block. That's your 1/4 inch excess, so that it will fit the the next block to it, or what have you. So then where do we start? We start here. So I'm just going to cut right down the middle of those blocks. Okay, so this is what we're starting with, and that's what we're going to do next. So I'm ready now to start with this block. It's very, very simple. As I said, it starts here, A1, A2, A3, A4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that one 11. Before then, after then, we have to stick on the long green strip, and then we stick on the long black strip. So I'm just going to do a couple. Bear in mind, with this particular block, the emphasis is on the folding, the crease of the folding to be accurate, and then the 1/4 inch cutting to add the next piece of fabric. That's where the emphasis is when you have very slim pieces to add. Okay, so I'll do a couple, show you, and then I'll carry on. Right, so we're starting on the one with the long green strip on it, and as I said to you, I'm just doing it around because the A1 starts here on this, on this side. So get my card. The first thing I'm going to do is just lay down, because I told you that the folding and the cutting is critical on this, okay, to make it work for you. So I'm putting my card against it and starting some of my folds, and this is what I tend to like to do is to get some folds in, whether I'm using a transparency or not. I still like to get some folds started. Okay, that wasn't particularly very good actually, that one. So if you find, like me, that I did not fold correctly down the black line, then bring it forward and really push against the card to get a better fold line. I've got it that time. Right, okay, this is the whole point of using the card, to get really good points. Alright, so I am just working my way down. I'm setting up my folds as I go. Oh, down to yeah, I'm going to go down to that fold between A7 and A8, okay, because then we start with the flatter fabric. So I've just got those folds in place, and then what I also want to do, because it helps me when I'm attaching fabric, is just get that long fold of the black in, okay, and the long fold of the green in, which gives me a bit of definition to what I'm working with. Alright, so that's how I start. Just start like that. So I'm working, as I said, we're cutting 2.5 inch strips, okay, to start with the black. So I turn it over and take my 2.5 inch strip. As I said to you, black picks up every thread that's going in the entire room. So yeah, remembering to cut off your selvage, right, because we don't want that. Difficult to see with black as well, isn't it? So I am going to place the black between, just over the lines, either way, yeah. Obviously I need to bring it back a bit to our outside line, but my finger says that's as long as it needs to be, so that is where I'm going to cut it, and then that is where I'm going to pin it as my first A1 piece. Alright, and I always pin a good distance away from, you know, where I'm actually going to sew. And then, as with everything else, we take it to the right side, put the card on it, okay. I pre-folded this, so it should be nice and easy to bring that back. I'm using my long add a quarter ruler and just skipping off any excess. I'm so sorry, I'm using the wrong cutter for this. Right, okay, forget that one. So that's my line to marry up against. And now I can take my 1.5 inch strip, okay, and say, well, I can see it still goes to the top. So again, I need to cut off the selvage and go from around about there to there to there, a little bit over, cut it and marry it up against that edge that we've already put down, and pin that and then from the right side, oh, my pins come out, don't care, from the right side, then we know that we can sew the very first line between A1 and A2, right from just outside that line all the way down, and a couple of stitches over on this side. And this is how we're going to work until we get to the fat ones. Okay. Right, okay, so I've just sewn that one. So that's going to fold back like that. But I just thought, you know, because we're all becoming best buddies and everything, I'd share another little secret with you. I can take that out because that's not going to go anywhere. Can't iron tracing paper because it'll shrink up like shrink wrap under heat, so that's no good. And yes, I do finger press, yeah, which is pretty good, isn't it? But something else I have is a roller. This is a roller. Now, I bought this roller to start off with was when I was rolling down vinyl to do things like vinyl attachments and etching on glasses and God knows what, but working with my cutting machine where I needed it to be really firmly attached and I needed transfer tape to be really firmly attached, so I bought a nice wide 4-inch roller. But however, obviously it's lovely and clean. I wouldn't use anything dirty, right? So I also use a roller. Whoops. As you can see, I just put a crease in that. I use a roller to roll my seams as well. So that's a little trick for me, okay? Because we can't really iron tracing paper. These, and don't, you see, if you go and buy like these little 1-inch seam rollers, yeah, because it's specialised to sewing, it'll cost you an arm and a leg. If you go and get this, and you don't ask for anything specific, you just say like a 4-inch roller that could be used in, anything in the world, you'll find that this is half the price of a sewing, so that's just my little tip for you. I'll find out. I obviously got it from Amazon, I would think. And I'll put a link underneath. But it's you know, well, I just find it so much easier. I can't be doing with a little 1-inch bloody roller. Right, okay. So now I've sewn from one to the other. Now I can put my card on for the next line, making sure that it's accurate. Bring it back. Okay. Put my outer quarter on. And yeah, I'm using the right one now. Cut off any excess of that. Alright. And that's what I'm saying, these are very, very slim strips. So taking my 2.5 inches, I am then gonna measure that against that and say, why don't you do that big? My next 2.5 inch black, which will marry up to this. Okay. And pin it. Pin it. Pin it. And then go and sew the second line, which is from here to there. Okay, now these are slim bits, so in some ways this is the most awkward one to do. It's not difficult, it's just awkward because they're very slim bits. Now I'm back to you because we've gone so far, okay, and you can see how it's coming along. It's great, I think so, right? But now we're starting on what I consider to be a fat part of the leaf. Now, trust me, because I have done this a few times now, that although it looks as if I come a 1/4 inch this way, it looks as if a 1.5 inch would fit. No, it doesn't. Okay, because if I was, well, even if I was lining up to that black, yeah, by the time that was sewn down and came back, we are missing a teeny tiny bit. So 1.5 inch, no good. So I did ask you to cut some 2 inch. And by the way, every time I say 2.5 inch black, I don't know why I got that stuck in my head. It's not. They're 2 inch. The black is 2 inch. This is 2 inch. Okay, so then if we marry up a 2 inch to the black, yeah, and then keeping that 1/4 inch in mind and fold back, you can see that it will definitely cover that green. All right, so the last 2 greens on this leaf need to be done with the 2 inch cut light green strips. So I'm just getting rid of my selvage, and I am just plopping it on and measuring it down. It only needs to go really to there. I'd rather give myself more room than less room, you know, at the end of the day. Yeah. As I always say, do not spoil the road for apis of tar, right? So that can go on there now, that 2 inch strip. And please remember, wherever I've said earlier in the video 2.5 inch backs, they're not. Because 2.5 inch strips are so you know, you get jelly rolls and what have you, they're stuck in my brain, but these are not. These are 2 inch strips that we've cut. Okay, so now we're ready to go and do that line down there, and then we'll just continue until we get to the top, and then I'll come back to you again. Right, I've just come back to you because I've just put on the last bit of black, but I want you to see how much I've come over with the length of the black. I know this was a piece that I'd used on something else, but it was, you know, the correct length for me, because as we go up and as we fold forward, can you see I've only just made it with that? So you have to consider the way you're folding is away from the line that we're going. So this is why you have to give yourself loads of space. Okay, all right, so that's the last bit going on. Just going to roller that down and show you now my techniques. See, that's as good as ironing without any heat. So what do we need to do next? Next, what we need to do is put on the green. But to put on the green, we need now to sort out this long line. For the green strip going down here, we can go back to using our 1.5 inches. Is fine. So keep the 2 inches just for the last 2 bits on the end, and when we do the other half, you will want the 2 inch strips for the fat bit on that one as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get down my long ruler so I can be accurate. All right, and well, I need to be accurate with this. So yes, I want my card. So let's start at the top. I suppose I could still do it with my other, but I need to be accurate, and we need to tug all our over stitching away from the paper, all right, so that we know that we've got, I'm looking for just a tiny sight of that black line all the way down as I put it towards my card and pull the stitching out of the paper. Yeah, I'm just looking to see that that is accurate, which I believe it is. I hope that that is all in focus with you. Okay, and yes, I could use my long thing, but I thought this time I'd just show you. Say for example you were using a long ruler like this, or even a fatter one, but it has this 1/4 inch opaque bit on the end. You can then, knowing that your fold is correct, put your 1/4 inch line all the way along the paper, and then, you know, this is how you do it if you didn't have an adder 1/4 ruler, all right? And then you can do that and hopefully get rid of all your excess from there, okay? And as I say, as you notice, whenever I make a cut, I never let go of the ruler until I'm satisfied with the cut. Okay, now, we can turn it round the right way. And you may have a few odd bits that you think, oh, it's a bit dodgy, but no, it's not, because it's going to get taken up in the 1/4 inch seam that we're about to make. So now take your 1.5 inch strip and please take it way past the end. More is better than less, okay? And pin it to that 1/4 inch allowance that we've just made, okay? Pin there, and you know, I'm a bit fussy, so I'll always pin the other end and then pin the middle. I know, fussy, but then I will then just definitely don't need anything outside the paper, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And on the inside now pattern, we can sew from outside the pattern all the way down that black line and outside the pattern here, and I'll come back to you. So I've just sewn all the way down there. Take out my pindies, yep, and roll it forward, and as you can see, it more than meets the edge of the paper, which is great. So we know that that 1.5 is wide enough. Finger press it, or you know, roll it, because I could put a lot more pressure on with this if I roll it. Alright. So there, that's the stemmy bit done. So the next thing that we need to do now is in exactly the same way, is that we need to add on this long black strip. So again, we're going to be, you know, it doesn't matter if it tears a little bit, but making sure that you're keeping that on the black line, so we can flatten out away from the sewing, rip it away from the paper just slightly. Yep, okay, so now we've got that, and then you can in whichever method that you use, I'm going to use my long ruler again actually, and place the 1/4 inch line right on the fold of my paper and cut. And nothing funny, that's not too much of a waste, is it, to be honest? Just, you know, I know it's waste, but it's not too much, is it? At the end of the day, when you realise that you've now got almost a perfect square, right? So what do we need? Now, in this case, we need wider than we've had before. And I'm just looking to see, just thought about it. I don't know whether it's going to work, but I do know I got some leftover 3.5-inch strips. Yeah, from like when we were doing other squares. This is a 3.5-inch strip. So I'm just testing it a minute. If I put it against there, obviously the top's going to work. Is the bottom going to work? So I need to say, give a generous 1/4 inch here and fold it back. And it will. Generous one. It will actually work. So if you've got some leftover 3.5-inch strips from other bits that we've made, I'll just check that that is 3.5-inch a minute, because I don't know. 1, 2, yes, 3.5-inch strips. You can use that, or cut yourself some new, cut it at 4 inches, and then you know it definitely will work. So I've just come back and sewed my 3.5-inch strip on there, which I feel is really going to work. Okay, brilliant. Loving this, coming together nicely, isn't it? Okay, so now what do we need to do? Well, that is that piece finished. So what we need to do right now is to take our long ruler with our 1/4 inch strip this side, and using the faint outside line, basically cut to size. All right, so this is going to work, hopefully, for the next bit. All right, so my faint line is really faint. If you can't see your line, well, it's 1/4 inch away from your finished project, so you know, take a view, right? Okay, and then the inside one. Just checking. You need to be accurate. So just checking that that is right, all the way up to there. Right. Right. So that's got rid of that. So now that's that triangle done. All right. We're still within our margin here on this side, so I know I can cut across there. Right, that's fine. And if I went to the bottom, there's my margin on there, so I could cut that off as well, which helps us marry up to the second piece that we're going to do. So that's the first side. That's the first side done. Yep. So now, really, we've got to repeat the same process for this side. Is that the right way up? No. No, that's how it's going to go. Yeah, that's the right way up. So now, this one does not have the green strip, but other than that, it's always, it's just the... Oh, of course it's going to end up that way, isn't it? Right, because that's going to be the right side. So that's going to end up like that. Okay, so now we've got to do exactly the same for this other bit, bar the green line. So 1.5-inch strips, 2-inch strips, the black, all 2-inch strips, and as we've just proved the rule, you could use a 3.5-inch strip, that strip that I just cut for the other side. Yeah. Because you've got to remember which way it goes. Yeah. So I would think of that. may or may not work for me. If it does, I'd be really happy. If not, well, I'll save that for something else. Okay? But anyway, there we go. So I'll come back to you when I've done the other half, and then we'll put it together. So I've taken all the papers off and I've given it a light press. Okay? Now, and also, as we talked about, the waste, alright? And get rid of that. And if you followed my suggestion of cutting 1.5 inch green strips aside from the 2 fat ones where you need it slightly wider, and 2-inch strips for the black ones, it's going to work, and a 3.5 inch strip for the outside, that was the waste that we had, which I think for quite a complex block like this, you know, it's not too bad. You may vary. Now, if you left the papers on, then you can match up the lines. I've taken my papers off so that I can iron it, because now using the tracing paper, if I ironed it with the tracing paper on, the tracing paper is going to shrink like plastic, so it's going to be crap. So I've taken off my taken off the papers from behind it, so now it's just the block. Yeah. So how do we now know where we got to put it to marry it all up? Well, there's one thing we know for certain. Hang on, is that this piece, because we cut it to the line, and this piece, because we cut it to the line, is the same. So if we put the block on and marry up this bottom seam, okay, against the rest of it, alright, it should fit. I don't know why it wouldn't, so I'm just looking at it and I am judging. If that comes along there, it's gonna look like that there. So where's the green against that there? Yeah, it's in the right place. So yeah, marry up your bottom line if you cut it accurately, because this triangle is not the same size as this triangle, and you know, after pinning it, as you do, remembering you've got a 1/4 inch, not quite right now, remembering you've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, so that's going to shorten the lines as well. Okay, so I'm just pinning that twice. Okay, and obviously I can't really show you, can't really help you until it's sewn, can I? But if I look at it on a view like this, before I've sewn it, it looks practically okay, doesn't it? Yeah? So that's what I suggest you do, is take a note that the bottom line should match up. So now I'm going to do, using a 1/4 inch foot. So this is the square put together, and I'll pop it round to your way of looking at it, and I hope you'll agree with me that that is a stunning square. And I really think that this particular square, amongst all the other squares that we've done, really sets this off as being a tropical quilt. Yeah, so I'm very happy with it. Of course, we've got to make 8. I've already started on another one. Do you know, this is what I love. You see, I've just started, still got the papers on. I've just started on another one, and if I place it on top, yeah, as you can see, it's perfect, isn't it? And they're all going to come out identically. Yeah, I've got the other half to do with that one. they're all going to come out identically. Now when we've made we need to make 8 of these, but when we've made 2 of these, we can, right, let's find it, start to plop it together. I've got to think on the pattern now. These are up like that, and these ones will start to come down like this. Okay, all right. We just put that up the table a bit so you can see. So this is how this 4 with let's pretend this is it, with that one that way, and then another one of these that way, and then that's our middle quarter of 4. Yeah, that's going to be a quarter of 4, and then the 4 you saw in the previous video with the tulip is going to be turned around and put as the end of 4. So now you can really see that this pattern is starting to come together. You can only do the top and the bottom because these squares need another element for the side panels. All right, it's not going to be this one. So yeah, I really hope you're enjoying this. I'm loving it. Next Saturday with a brand new block.